So hi everyone, my name is Patricia Nudio Rao, and today I'm joined by a group of very fantastic people, and we want to discuss something that is rarely discussed: mental health. The stigma surrounding it is still there, and people equate mental health to running around the streets and all these things. Which we wanted to debunk. We also wanted to just bring attention to mental health and what mental health really does to the life of individuals, and no one is spared, children, young people, older people, and to just normalize conversations about mental health. So this is courtesy of STADA. STADA is an organization based in Kisumu County, but works pretty much around the country. We work around so many other issues. You can check us out online, but today we'll discuss mental health and what we do around mental health, why we are doing mental health. It was a program that started based off of our different experiences within the organization, and wanting to bring attention to the fact that as much as mental health is something that is not is rarely discussed and rarely gets much attention, it surely does need to get attention, because when you're sick you go to the hospital. When you're physically unwell you go to the hospital, and that's normal. But when you have challenges, there is no one to be able to put a lot of attention to that, and that's problematic in so many different ways. And so we started a department, and we work very closely with survivors of sexual violence, but also with our staff internally and our teen mothers. And we've got to realize that there's a lot of people who struggle. The misconception is that it doesn't cover a large demographic of people, but it does cover a huge demographic. And so today I'm joined by some of the people that we work together with, and would like to tell their stories, and we hope that this is helpful for anyone who is watching. So we'll start by a round of introductions. They'll just tell us their names and then something fun about them. So we'll start with Mose.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Moses Migor. Actually, me I like food, but I don't like asking for food.
Same here, same here. Yes.
Hi guys, my name is Lydia. Me, what I like most is I'm so playful, and I think I die playing. But I like playing that makes pleasure to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hi. My name is Drolling, and what I really like actually is work. Mine is just work, because of work. Everything is just tick.
Yeah, and I didn't say what I like. I really like food, just like Moses. Food makes me happy. It makes me extremely happy, and so yeah. So we'll just get in and start this discussion. And I just wanted us to start by sharing our experiences and our journeys. And I know our journeys are very different, and so to just start this off, I'll just start by sharing my own. I realized that I was in a state that I didn't recognize when I gave birth. When I was pregnant with my first child, I was 23 years old. No one has any business being pregnant at 23. That's my personal observation. When you're not independent enough to be able to make the right choices, but also maybe you are. It depends again with where you're born, how you're raised, and all that. But at that stage, I was in my 4th year of studies. That means I was still in school. I gave birth after school, but I was pregnant while in school, and so I felt like there were so many people around me, but I was largely alone. I felt so isolated, not because it was just an experience that I didn't see happen. I saw it happen to other people, but my dynamic was different. I grew up in a fairly religious home. I wasn't the one that people would bet on that this one would get pregnant, so I was to a large extent very much like protected and guarded, and so this was a very traumatic experience for me. But I can see leading up to that, I was always isolated, and this happened after some traumatic experience that I went through in high school, and so I was largely alone. But then I felt that tripled when I got pregnant, and so I journeyed that pregnancy with so much sadness. I could feel a sadness that would bite. I would feel stressed. I would feel like my body was physically reacting to the pain that I was feeling, and I hated the experience. I hated how I felt, and I just knew that something wasn't right. I would rather I preferred locking up myself a lot in the room and not talking to anyone. And I felt that my life had literally stopped. And so for a long time, I did not actually even want to see light. I just wanted to sit in a dark room with my thoughts, and I felt like I was sinking. And that's my first experience, really experience, because growing up there were certain experiences that shook me, and I felt there was something that was not right. But this specific one made me feel a type of way, like I felt like the world was crashing on me, and I was literally even thinking about things that I had never thought I would ever do. And so that was my first experience with issues around mental health. And so I don't know, Moses, if something about that struck a chord with you, but like you can just share your experience as well.
Yeah, it is more or less the same. So, okay, actually, mine started some way back. Just after I had finished my college, you know, I had a lot of friends, a bunch of friends, and you know, we were like, who is the first amongst the equal? So, what happened really is that I was the first one amongst my peer to get a job. So that was a very good thing. So actually, it started there when I started earning. I could cater for my bills and everything. So like everybody, my peers, they used to envy me. Like they would say, they want to be like Moses or something like that. So actually, it went on for a long period of time until one day I lost that job when all this began. So you know, things were not the same with when I was with that job. So actually, I could not now, I didn't have any source of income, but now I had like bills to settle, responsibility to take care, like taking care of myself, because now I was on my own, like paying rent and something like that. I was now not depending on anybody. So being that now I could not get any money, stress, ikaniingililia, and my peers also, they were like, oh, this is something like now I could not even walk with them or even hang with them like we used to do when I used to have money. So actually it went on like that until it reached a point whereby now I did not want to associate with people. I just wanted to be alone and spend most of the time sleeping. And I was very depressed to a point whereby I was not even thinking on how to get out of it. Because you know, I was like, I had this idea like this kind of job. I was very selective during that time. I could not do any kind of, there were some particular types of job that I wanted, like a clean job, okay? I could not go to Mjengo, oh, how would my friends see me or something like that. I just wanted, I was focusing on getting lucrative jobs, something of sort, but it was not anyway near. So it continued like that to a point whereby now this depression was taking me to start using drugs. So I went to alcohol and I started drinking. Then alcohol seems to be worsening that situation by that time, because I could not drink a lot. So when I sobered up, I just want to find a way of going back to again drink, because I never wanted to be sober. Because answering this question, where am I going to get my next meal? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to keep the status quo like how my friends used to know me? I didn't want to answer those questions, so I just wanted to be someone who is drunk throughout. So with alcohol, things really messed. Even the things that I had bought, like television set, and now I could now resell them, go and drink. just to solve that bit of stress. But that's how things were going down and down and down. I sold so many things, including my seats, including my electronics, to a point whereby now if I could get inside my house, it was almost empty, you see. So that's how things were just going down, down, down. So until one day an uncle from home gave me a call, and when he asked me, I was just like, everything is fine, because you know, I'm a Luo, you know Luos, they have that, they call it pride, yeah?
Yes.
So I was like, how are you? I said, I'm fine, in fact, I'm very fine, but deep down, I'm not very fine, I'm just like pretending. But I think he sensed something, so he took the initiative of coming to town, and when he met me, I think he was very surprised, because I was not like the same person he used to know. I had changed in terms of even my body appearance and everything. So we sat down and we talked. So from then is when I realized that, oh, something was happening that is not usual. So after his advice, I now started like, oh, now let me open my mind to the world to see if I can come out of this. Now that is when I could now even consider going to Mjengo. You know, it is not very easy, like you are working in an office and then all of a sudden you want to go and put on dirty clothes and go to Mjengo. How is your friends going to see you? But from his advice, I now started seeing world in a different perspective. So that's how I struggled and came out of it, and I really thank God for that.
Thank you, Moses. Then we see a build up there, and I think most of our cases we will see like something starting as sadness and then building up to other things, and so in that case, even like up until the point where there is now drug abuse involved and loss of self-esteem. Lydia, maybe you can take us through.
You guys once more. Okay, mine is kind of rejection, which took the bigger part of me, and it's like I kept it for so long without knowing. I can say I didn't know, because as I was being raised up, I'm one girl, one child in that house. Unfortunately, I had 2 mothers, one girl and 2 mothers. That is the sister to my mom, who was staying just around in Kisumu, and my mother who was living with me. And since the sister to my mother didn't have her child, so I could live. Saa zingine niko huko kwa sister ya mamangu, another time I'm at my mother's place. So you see the love. But there is a place, like my sister's mother was single. So in her house there was no husband. So I would always question, and why is she staying single? And in where my mom is staying, I was rejected. I was never welcome. They keep on telling me, you are not part of this family. That is the relative. So I started feeling something is wrong. At times I could also cry. Fellow children, when you are playing with them, they tell you, you know, you are not part of this family. You know, your mother came with you. I could ask my mom, Nahaniambi answers. You know, as a child, when you are looking for answers, you ask questions and you are not given answers. You feel bad, you feel disappointed. So I felt disappointed, and it kept on piling in my life. So as a child, as I grew up as a teenager, I was looking for my home. Because now, when my mother is somewhere, and that place I feel, that is where I should be, that is where I belong. And the public knows you and tells you that is not your place. And your mother, who is your immediate relative, is not giving you that answer. You know, that one is also advancing your stress to depression. So as I was in secondary school, when people are being visited, actually, it was only my mom who used to visit me in school. My father never came to school. So I was like, why has he not owned her? So it is true that he's not my father. So at a point I pinned my mother down. I was in Form 3, so I wanted to really know my background. So she told me, actually, this secret was kept for quite some time. That I think because of marriage issues they kept this. But you see, it was affecting me. It was affecting me academically, because at times when people are talking of their brothers, you don't have. Their sisters, you don't have. Their fathers, they come, they hug one another. You are like, when will I find my real father to hug me? Yeah? So I only have mothers. At a point I concluded that I only have mothers. Because in my aunt's place, hakuna mwanaume. So that male figure was really, ilikuwa chini kabisa. So it wasn't, you remember, my sister's mom was very rich. So you know, children, we don't love poverty. No one wants to associate with poverty. And for my mom's, where my mom is married, It is poor. It is yani unaona ile you live a below income per capita. So you can relate this. So most of the time I could come, leave my school bag, then go to Kisumu. You want a life, eh? So when she died, I was in secondary in Form 4 when she died. That was the turning point, the beginning of problem. I said, where I could find a little bit of peace. Now she's gone. So what is my next move? Here I am not welcome. My mother is not ready to tell me the truth. And it's like she swore never to. She swore never to tell me the truth. My father is not talking, but the community are rejecting you. Why is you part of this family? Or you are the reason why another child cannot be born. At a point, I used to ask some other children, where when your sister is alive, what happened? Because I thought maybe there was a reason as to why we could not even have siblings. So you cling on friends. When you end up, you follow them. You want to get to the root. It is really stressful. Rejection is really a depression. So I decided anyway, since this I'm not welcome and I am finishing school, you know guys, we look for boys. And we really think boys will solve the situation. So it was one man after the other. You don't get what you want. When you, this one, And also I was also choosy because I was a girl. God made me on a Monday. I was a girl. Hips zilikuwa. So I was a girl beautiful. A man could look. So yes, the figure was there. So if you look at me well, because I'm also soul searching, if you look at me well, no, you know I was desperate. Then I got married. That I didn't look twice. I didn't think. I was never advised. And I got married. And because I don't regret, I got married. I didn't know what is the meaning of marriage. You know you're getting married because you are looking for that father. There is a figure you are looking for, thinking that this one is going to help. And I decided to keep quiet. I was ever quiet in that house because that man is also very strict and very cruel. And it also takes two. If you didn't relate when you're getting married, it takes two. Or it takes more than 2 to 3 years to know somebody in that house. So imagine in a period of 5 years, I didn't know the man I was staying with, and he didn't know me. Because I was not opening my mind to tell him what is going on in my life. And he's also not asking me. So we are living like strangers in the same house. So one led to the other until he noticed himself that this girl is suffering and decided to help me. Through checking into psychological school. That is where I now began the journey of life, seeing, just as he said, open my mind towards seeing the life in a different direction. Also spiritual, as she said, also helped me because I joined deep into church. I could go there, cry out like women. You know you are crying because women are crying. But as time goes, you realize here, I can do it, I can get it, I can release some of my pains. You journey with the women, they help you. Yeah. So it really helped me a lot.
Yeah, so Lydia, what are some of those, and thanks for sharing your journey, and also like going on to say some of the things that work for you, which we'll have a round of. But what are some of those things that were happening to you as a result of what you're going through? What were you realizing was changing about you?
You know, like, by the time I was joining a relationship, I realized I had a lot of stress. Because today I have a man, tomorrow I have another person. They are fighting. You know when they're fighting, you are again stressed up. Eh? And then I started losing my beautiful figure. You are the talk of the community. And when community talk, surely, it is another stress. You are also rejected. At a point, this is my misbehavior, because at that moment it was now mischief. It led to my father is also fighting with my mother. You see, this is zingine pia zinaongezeka kwa hii akili yako. So I got killed. Nilikonda, nikakuwa mweusi, nikajendea. So sasa mimi ni shushu tu.
Yeah. So it actually presented physically, yes. And also you realize that you are looking for acceptance from men, yes. And that validation. Thanks for sharing. Brolin, share your story with us. What are some of the ways that your stress presented, and maybe if you can share briefly your journey?
Okay. As early as I had introduced myself, actually my journey with mental health, when I look at myself actually right now, as you can see, I'm a book that somebody outside will want to read. So mine basically is on relationship and work and job. So you see, early I grew up in a family setup whereby my dad, my mom, they were busy doing their own things. Yours was just to go to school, have education, then come back. So I was very lucky. I say I was very lucky because I had opportunities that made me to venture into business, and also opportunity to have a job. But later, the moment I lost these things, is when I came to realize that life was incomplete. Actually, let me just be precise. Because when I look at things, by then I was also in a relationship that was really, really toxic. I had a girlfriend whom we used to fight. Nowadays, I've decided to embrace the spirit of calmness because I was very, very violent. We used to fight, at times we used to quarrel. But the moment I decided to at least make things, sugarcoating things, you understand? I was trying to sugarcoat things to ensure that I maintained that status that I had. It was really, really affecting my life. I thank God so much because I also got another job. I got another opportunity, and on this platform, each and every time I used to feel like I was rejected, each and every time. At my workplace, I used to have a lot of issues. At times, I didn't even do anything, that if you just find that people are now stepping on, because I was trying to at least maintain, to be calm. I'm kind of a person who, there was a time the caretaker of where I was staying came just to ask for rent. Sikufikiria mara mbili. We started there because that was the only way to solve my issue. Then later, you see, I've jumped from this relationship. Now, I'm not trying to, at least, you understand, when you're a youth, I decided to start another relationship. And this one led to where I am today. I have a wife and a kid. It's a long story. So, my story from when I was actually living with this woman, it started when things were good. Actually, she didn't see. But when things are now becoming worse, each and every time we used to quarrel. Quarrel was breakfast, lunch, even supper. That was the diet. So at times I used to come to work very stressed out, not sharing with anybody. Because I knew definitely if I share with these people, they definitely laugh at me. So I just decided to keep calm. There was a moment when, at times by the way, I was not even sleeping at night. Because at times I used to wake up, just sit down, just try to imagine how I used to be. But look at me now, look at this, what happened? I used to question a lot my mind, myself, who am I? There was a point even, I even decided that I wanted to commit suicide. It was not the first time, it wasn't the second time. There was a time I took drugs, a lot of drugs. I wanted to just swallow pills. Combination of amoxicillin, everything. I wanted just to at least relieve. There was a time, and also there was also a time that when I used to have some sharp headache, but I was not even sharp. Taking a lot of painkillers, but they were not even helping me. I didn't know that I was suffering, actually. I did not know I was suffering. Because everything was just obvious. My wife would see me, call me names when I come to my workstation, meeting the same people. This one led to, I was running mad, running to the street. It was not the first time, but I really thank God. I landed a job where they could understand the situation. They used all the resources to ensure that I was well. It reached a point whereby now back, I'm trying to just, there was a time I even received some cash, sold some things where I was living, sold my sofa set, because I wanted solution to my problem. I went to Mombasa, because I heard that there, when you go there, actually you feel well. After all the counseling session that the organization took, I decided just to rush there. I don't know that I was safe. I went there, then I came back. When I came back, what I told my wife, you see, I want to be that book that people are going to read. I didn't have that platform, but the mechanism that I used to survive this journey was really just obvious. One was spiritual. I decided to invest myself, my spirit, in the Word of God. People saw me as a mad person. This really affected my self-esteem. At times I used to look at people, then I just say, there was even a time that I was just passing the conversation was, this madman, you never make any correct decision. So that one has really affected me. But with the conversation that I've had, with my boss, because there was a time that my boss noticed, and then she called me. We had a conversation that really, that was a turnover. That conversation really changed my life. I went, I sat down, I thought about it, and that was the moment when I realized that I'm very, very important. I will not commit suicide anymore. I will focus on building myself. And that's the reason why work was the only platform for me to forget about these things. So you even find me just working, because I do not want to overthink, because I know I don't want to go back to Egypt. I just want to go to Canada. I just want to focus. So there are some things that I used. Listening to music, not just music, listening to good music. So the most painful thing that happened to me was when I was almost going to the street. When I always think about that, but I thank God. It's a long story.
Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable, Brolin, and also still coming back to the same thing of it being progressive, starting from one point and then progressing to the other and then progressing to the other. So if one point is not taken care of, then there is chance that it can escalate and move to the other point. And I've talked to a lot of people who've used spirituality to be able to correct to be able to be healthy again mentally. And so I am one of those people that my belief in God and the fact that I knew that there was something bigger to my life than myself. There was something that I needed to accomplish, and that put me in a state where I could not give up. And so spirituality played a huge role in my process and taking me to the place that I am. A lot of people have also gone through therapy. Not everyone can afford therapy. Therapy is expensive, but there are people who have been helped by therapy and counseling and all other aspects. I don't know how you have been able to get from the point that you are. It would also be nice to know if you're still on the journey and you keep on learning and healing and growing. So it would also be nice to just say I'm still on that journey, but this and this and this are some of the things that I have been able to do that has made it better for me, or that has made me to feel the healing. So again, I'll start with Moses.
Okay, about me actually, I would say that maybe I'm over it yet, because I'm a human being. A human being is always been susceptible to what is happening in the environment. But from my story, I think right now where I stand, I'm in a healing point, still in the process, because a lot of things happened, things that never happened in my life. Like things like doing drugs. That is something that I never imagined that I could be in drugs. It is something that I perceived as, oh, it can only happen to other people, but not me. But when it reached that point whereby I was now the one leading the pack in that, it came as a surprise. And even until right now, I still see it when I look back how it used to happen. I just sometimes sit down and think, how did this happen? But then I also realize that, sometimes when these things happens into your life, so many things comes into your head. There was a be somewhere. But a challenge is what I can tell people outside there. When someone undergoes depression, you can either prolong it. You can either prolong the period of depression, or you can make it short. It depends with the decision that you're going to take. You see, mine was that very long because I was blindfolded and I went to drugs and substance. And instead, it wasn't it. And I realized I took a long period of time suffering, not knowing that I could take a short time in it and then come out of it. But then I realized that when all this happens, if you go to drugs have a way of fueling this. So I can advise people outside there, whenever you are undergoing any form of stress, please don't mix it with drugs. I'm a victim, and I know what I'm telling you. It's very sensitive. Stay away from drugs, because drugs prolong the suffering and fuel the suffering. It makes it even much bigger. So there is always a room to think outside the box. And when you start thinking outside the box is when things start working. Yeah. If you don't think, if you don't visualize what you want, nothing will work. I'm telling you, I used to sleep most of the time. So sleeping, I never knew that there were opportunities outside. So when I stopped the sleeping, when I stopped being alone, then I started talking to people is when I started getting the leads. Kesho kuja, something like that. And when I went out, I started now walking out to people who I knew. That's how, again, I find a connection to at least whereby I could now go somewhere, get a job, after coming to a casual job, you do it for a week, you get something, then you recover. But recovering also takes a long period of time. It is not something that is going to happen instantly. Like umekuwa na stress, and then after the stress, now you get a resolution, then boom, you are over it. It is a process, it takes some time. So patience also play a very big role when it comes to that.
Yeah, and those are very good points in terms of what to do, what not to do, and the way you've been coping. And you mentioned earlier that you're still on the journey.
Yes.
Which is a good thing to acknowledge, that I'm still on that journey. But is there anything specific that you have done in your journey that you think has gotten you, because you're not where you used to be. You've made some progress. Is there anything that you've done that has made you to move from the point where you're at to the point where you're at now that you can share with us?
Yeah, I've done quite a lot of things, like getting myself engaged in community service. And also, you know, like when all these were happening, I realized like I was not so much religious when I was suffering, when I was undergoing depression. Then being religious, finding something to believe in, whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, is something good. So you know me, I'm a Christian. Then I decided like, okay, I was a Christian before even through the suffering, but I realized that I was just a Christian then by name, because I was not even going to church. Even if you could ask me, which church do you go to? Like, I did not used to go to church. But then I started, I find a church. I started attending church services, which actually, now I started participating both in the community initiative, going to church and getting engaged, making myself busy most of the time. So I think those are some of the things that I've done to help me progress in the way.
Thank you very much for sharing. Lydia, what are some of the things that you have used? I think you mentioned earlier the fact that you turned to spirituality, and you also had a supportive spouse who helped you through the journey. Is there anything else that you want to add on to what you used to call?
Yes, apart from the spirituality side, actually even on the spiritual level, my engagement in church has also helped a lot, because I realized that since I don't want any other youth to go through what I went through, I became an animator. An animator in our church is that teacher who you be there for the youth, you as a moderator, you advise them, you talk to them, and they come out, they bring their stories. So through that, you also find out that the ones that you are hidden, that you have not gone through, because as I concurred with the Moses that he said, healing is a process, and it does not take a day or two to heal. So as we talk together, as we share out our problems together in church with the youth, I realize also there's some healing that goes through. And then another thing that I also did was to engage in community activities. Like I was fortunate to be recruited to be one of the social workers within the area, mobilizers who were there where I was staying. So I used to go and offer also counseling and guidance to youths in the community. And this one has also helped a lot, because we share out. You know, sharing, a problem half shared is a half solved. So it has helped a lot. It has helped me in that journey. Apart from that, in the family level, because I'm a mother, we talk to our children, we share out. And then I make that time with my children so that we share out. I tell them their generation so that they don't look for what I look for and didn't get the answer. You tell them where they come from, where you also came from, and what happened in the past. Let them not come to ask questions when they are big. Let them know themselves from the beginning up to that place where they are, and it has really helped a lot.
Thank you so much. So that sense of community, I think, is also cross-cutting. Community service, becoming engaged, ensuring that you build a community around you. And I think that is one of the things that is cross-cutting. Brolin, apart from spirituality, which you mentioned earlier, is there anything else that you've used to cope? Are you on any medication or yeah, just tell us how you used to cope.
Thank you so much. With my journey, actually, I would say I really applaud the organization that I'm actually working in. They have been so supportive in terms of ensuring that my mental health state actually is okay, to be precise. I used not to talk with others, have conversation with others, but nowadays, at least I'm bold. Earlier, I used just to stay in that cocoon that I would share with anybody my story. But the moment I came out and I shared my story, it gave me boldness. So apart from spiritual, actually I'm also in the healing process. I can say that I'm okay, but the way actually I'm always involved in this job that I'm doing, actually it has been a source of healing, because I meet people, I have conversation, we laugh. Even right now, as we speak, I've managed also to learn a new language, of which I'm really trying at least to perfect. Actually, it has been so good. Actually.
Yeah. So you mentioned having a support system around you, and you mentioned, of course, where you work, which is TADA, and you also mentioned the fact that you are able to get a sense of purpose because you work somewhere and you're able to see how lives are changing. And I think that is something that is cross-cutting across all of us. The fact that when you build a community around you, you begin to live for something bigger than yourself, then you have a renewed sense of purpose. And so that, to a great extent, helps with the depression. So for Lydia, as a professional in issues around mental health, what are some of the misconceptions that you hear about mental health?
Like you find that people tend to associate mental health with madness, with only sickness, that when you have a mental problem, the only place you can find solution is from the hospital. But I tend to agree with that. You know, even around us, even the way we are amongst us, one person will be suffering in one way or the other. But we don't know. We assume that mental health is only involved in sickness. So whenever you find somebody and you hear Brollins just talked of when he was walking in his journey of trying to find his way, trying to rectify what had happened in the past, you find people are calling him a mad person. They associate that disease with madness. And you know, when they bring that into your mind, it takes you back. You want to confirm that, am I really mad? Okay? So on the process of wanting to confirm that, am I really mad, you start behaving like a mad person. And in real sense, you are not. You're just passing through a lot of stress. You're just passing through certain difficulties that when solved, some are not solved in the hospital. Some we can solve even in the families. Some are spiritually solved. When we solve them the right way, then they just become a normal problem that we encounter and solve. Most of the problems they associate with like madness, it is a misconception. It is not true. It's not all the problems that deal mentally like stress. Now when you say you are stressed and somebody tells you to go to the hospital, do you really need medicine so that you cure stress? In most of our communities today, people are suffering. And families is being broken because of stress. And stress is psychologically managed. You can talk to one another. You can decide to turn a leaf by identifying yourself and believing in you and accepting that I'm unique in a way so that you solve the problem. And it is a journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lydia. I think what you mentioned is something that all of us have had, that a lot of times when people talk about mental health, they liken it to being mad. And we were having some conversation yesterday on the lead up to the mental health day, and we were talking about certain things that present and people don't actually look at them as a mental disorder.
Yes.
Like OCD, you
Yes.
just want your things arranged a certain way. Like you would be mad if someone would take your cup and put it here. And so a lot of times people think that is now you are very organized, you are a neat person, you are a clean person, and all these other things. But in real sense, that is just the same as someone who is living in filth.
Yes.
Because there are people who are two extremes. Anytime anything is an extreme, it becomes dangerous to your health. And so there are people who would not want to do anything. They live in a complete filth. There are people who their house, even if you stepped, you don't even see the dirt, they are seeing that. There are people who just don't want to talk to anyone. There are people who are always out there, and we've seen there was a comedian in the US, Twitch, who committed suicide. The happiest person. Every time you see them, they look happy. they are very social, and so no one actually really wears their mental health diagnosis on their faces. So you'd find someone who is outgoing, overjoyed, happy, and then they commit suicide and you're like, how? We didn't see it coming. Then there's someone who is extremely lonely and doesn't talk, and maybe they're just okay, that's their personality. So mental health really presents itself in very many different ways, and one of the things that I would like as we gear up to this World Mental Health Day, that you research so that you're able to help the people around you, especially the ones that look like they're outgoing and they're happy. Those ones, at least you'll be able to see that someone is not okay when they are stressed and it's visible. But there are people who can hide stress. So they are outgoing and they are laughing and they are doing all these things. So I would like you to be able to go and research a little bit about mental health, and probably that will help even you as the person who is a caregiver around yourself, so that you can be able to look out for the signs in your parents, in your siblings, in your children, in your neighbors, in everyone around you. But as we wrap up this conversation, I just want to go back to everyone to give us their parting shot. On 10th of October, the world celebrates Mental Health Day. What would you want that we do differently as a society? How would you want us to be able to move going forward? Or to you, everything is okay? And as a person, from your own perspective, if there's someone who is struggling out there, what would you want to tell them? So I'll begin with Moses. You can answer either question or both of them. Yes.
Okay, so first I will say, there's always a phrase that the problem is not the problem, but the problem is how you solve the problem. So actually, if you look at that sentence very carefully, it simply implies that how you are going to think about solving your problem is much more important than the problem itself. So, like I was telling you, like me, I wanted to solve my problem with drugs, but that was worsening it. You get. So sometimes we need to, when we are in depressed situation, we need to think outside the box, and just to think that problems are there for human beings. And if something is happening into your life right now, or it happened, it is because you are a human being. You get. So it is not like you are meant to lead a very soft life till you die. There will always be ups and downs. So let us always take this problem like, if you are down, find a way to be up. And remember always where you are and how you stand determine where you will go next. So always let us be firm in the decisions that we make, even if we are in these situations. And most people always think that mental health is for only for poor people, like rich people. They don't suffer this disease because poor people always perceive like they are the ones having stress where they are going to find their food. No, even those who you think have money, those who you think like they are well off, no. Mental health manifests itself differently. So we should always be on the outlook for everyone outside there, and always let us try to reach out to people. If you see a sign, if you see a manifestation, people behave differently. Kama umekuwa na mtu, your neighbor, and you start seeing like a different behavior, if you have the ability, always approach. If you don't have the ability to maybe approach, consult with someone who can be of help, because we want to cap this problem. Like nasikia mtoto mdogo amejinyonga, amewacha letter, alikuwa ametoa sign, before mtu afikie hapo, there is always a sign, a trace they leave behind. So let us just be sensitive with people in our environment so that we keep our society healthy.
Thank you very much, Moses. Lydia.
Okay, from his point, I've just picked another myth and misconception. As we were talking about suicide, and doctor told us that people tend to believe that if you are from a family where there was somebody or one or two people that were committed suicide, then it means it is continuous. Now, we want to air it out loudly to the world that it is not true. Those ones are just myths and misconceptions. Because the condition in which your father died is different from your condition, isn't it? And we are all unique in our ways. We are special in a way. So how we handle our situation determines how we will solve them. So we can advise the world that let us solve the situation of how they come, because no condition in life is permanent.
Thank you very much, Lydia, and that's a very good point, coupled with what Moses said around a problem is just only about how you solve a problem. It's not the problem itself, and tying it to no situation is permanent. We are in a journey. Today you're okay, tomorrow you might be sick or not sick. So branding people and maybe telling them you are mad and all that, it's like living in a glass house.
Yes.
Because you never know when your time will come.
Yes.
Finally, Brolin, your parting shot.
Thank you so much. My parting shot will basically just be on actually on the policies. So like the government and the stakeholders of the government, they should at least come up with more policies to ensure that mental health, they should prioritize mental health awareness, especially in institutions, like even in the one that I'm in actually. They should at least come up with some policies that will help at least tackle this situation, because this is something that has been affecting most youths, even adults, even children. So more policies should be formulated to ensure that mental health situation is actually covered.
Thank you very much, Brolin. So we need to be able to act as government, as a society, in our churches, in our homes. I think the parting shot from me is that let's remain vigilant and not to assume. Don't assume that people are okay. If someone tells you they are not okay, believe them, and try as much as possible to be that person who is a part of the solution rather than a part of a problem. A lot of times when you talk about mental health and you tell someone you're struggling, they brand you like you are weak, you are all these things, and a lot of times people are struggling and people are dying and committing suicide, yet there could be people be a bystander, be someone who is a part of the solution. Reach out to the people around you, okay? Normalize checking in with people and just asking if they are fine, if you can help them in any way, because that really helps. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much to all of our panelists. I hope that during this World Health Day, World Mental Health Day, you do something to be able to move the needle on issues around mental health, and that you're able to be a part of the solution. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.